Well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Dan Kudanovich, and I'm a CRM Practice Director with Apex IT. We're all here today to get a little more insight into Oracle's Fusion CRM, and these FastCasts were created to quickly show some tools native to Oracle Fusion CRM that can help your sales teams maximize their productivity. Since user adoption is always a concern in CRM, keeping things simple for sales managers is a major differentiator. And one way to bring sales users to the CRM tool is give them something back. Now, when your business changes, you incent your sales teams differently and you like them to act on those new incentives. So that's right, today we'll be talking about incentive compensation. But before we start, just a little housekeeping. If you wouldn't mind placing yourself on mute throughout the duration of the FastCast, you'll have the opportunity to unmute yourself during the Q&A period. Our agenda for today, we'll briefly introduce you to Apex IT, just so you know why we're talking about CRM. We also wanted to highlight that we're nearing the end of this first series, and we'll be introduce our second FastCast series at the conclusion of this FastCast. We've spoken earlier in the past about the Outlook and mobile functionality within Oracle Fusion CRM. Today's FastCast has us jump onto our laptops as sales managers. We'll present a day in the life of scenario demonstration. And something to note about incentive compensation is there are several components like territory and quota management and sales predictor capabilities, and these are all topics for future webcasts, but for the purposes of today, we'll focus high level on incentive compensation. Now, Apex IT is a Platinum Oracle partner, and we participate in something called the CRM Invested Partner Community. Now, this is an invite-only community that gets Apex IT some great access into the best and brightest at Oracle, including product strategy and product development teams, and we also get some trainings that aren't currently publicly available. So Oracle is investing in us, and we're investing in Oracle, and because of our relationship and our CRM success, we got the Super Bowl of the CRM Awards at Oracle called the Specialized Partner of the Year. We also support a variety of other Oracle CRM applications, and we've been doing so since 1997. Now here's our Nascar logo slide. So since 1997, we've had about, or just over 1,200 engagements in a variety of different industries, and we've got a lot of CRM experience across those industries, which leads us to why we think Fusion CRM is such a differentiator in the marketplace. Now, if you look at this slide, it looks a little busy, but we'll boil it down simply. Fusion CRM is an all-encompassing CRM solution that provides a variety of ways to interact with it. It's got a variety of different functionality all in one cloud and not through the use of other third-party tools. It's got integrations to social media and has flexible deployment options. Again, we wanted to note that incentive compensation is a segue into several other Fusion CRM modules and extensive capabilities, and those include territory management, quota management, and sales predictor. And our next FastCast will be about the sales predictor, but for now, let's go ahead and take a quick peek at incentive compensation. Today, I'm going to log in as Mateo Lopez, who is acting as a sales manager. Now, I can see here that this is my team's pipeline report, and so I've got a great way to see how my team is doing. I've also, on the right-hand side, got access to Oracle Social Network Activity Stream on my homepage, and that allows me to continuously interact with my team members, and we'll spend more time on the social network piece in a future FastCast. So after reviewing this homepage, I'd like to get an evaluation of my team's performance by looking into the sales compensation map. Now, this map enables me as a manager to see the performance of my directs across the territory they cover. I've got 3 sub-tabs available to me below, which give me an understanding of my team's performance. Under the Performance tab, I can first see my team's individual attainment percentage. Lisa Jones is performing very well for my team. And out of the box, I've got some availability to stack rank my team members. I can see who are my top performers, who's on track to make their quota, and I can even find out which team members aren't performing very easily, and I can add a little extra coaching to those guys. Now next, there's the Earnings tab. This tab gives me the indication of how my overall team is doing on their target earnings. The color indicator at the right provides an indication of how close they are to meeting their quota on an individual rep basis. Green and yellow icons you can see here. Now, like most compensation plans, there can be kickers and incentives that come into play when they're overperforming. Now, as a manager, I can remind them about those kickers that can incent them to perform a little better if their numbers aren't that high. Now, notice that Lisa Jones is well on her way to achieving her goal, whereas Cindy, she's at about 6% of her goal. Now, notice on the left-hand side, my total team average attainment is 30% for this period. So this is helpful for me as a manager to see my aggregate team attainment performance, as well as individual performance of the contributors in one spot, and I can easily make changes to the way I help my team to get them to ramp up more quickly. Now, lastly, we've got the Pay for Performance tab. So graphically, I can see how each team member is getting paid against their quota, which helps me decide on extra coaching. Again, Lisa Jones, my top performer, has achieved 93% of her attainment at roughly about $80,000 total earnings. Now, I've got two other members here that are about the 75% mark, but notice how there's a difference in their earnings. This can be dependent on one selling more profitable sales opportunities or products than the other. Now, again, through this analysis of my team, it helps me align my focus as a sales manager and what sort of compensation incentives I provide for my team to be more profitable. Now, from here, I'd like to see my own personal compensation. So I'm going to click on the My Compensation tab. Now, watch as these graphs change when I slide the attainment versus goal slider to June. So I've got the availability to see my attainment grow or shrink over time by utilizing that slider. Now, if you see on the left hand, this is my attainment compared to goal number. Now, attainment versus goal represents how my team and I are doing relative to our quotas established in our territory. If you notice on the left here, the blue bar represents my performance and the orange bar represents the goal. And if you can see this graph for June, doing simple math in my head, I can see I'm about at 80% of my number. So if I did nothing differently, I won't hit my number, and that's not acceptable. So I'm going to have to lean on my team a little bit more in my next sales team meeting to focus on Oracle Fusion Sales Predictor so that we can find some new sales opportunities and new leads. Now, on the right-hand side, this is my actual earnings relative to my target incentive. Here, we're focused on how much I've earned in blue during the period and what my target incentive is in this quarter at full plan. I've only achieved 30% of the total potential earnings. So notice that there isn't necessarily a straight line relationship between the performance versus goal and earnings versus target. So typically, earnings will dramatically increase the closer I get to achieving my goal. That all makes sense. Now, if I scroll down, I can see all the commission information in a tabular format. Because I'm a sales manager and not selling directly, all of my credits are indirect. You can see the transaction amount, the product category, currency, the credit amount, and the actual amount of the incentive credit being received by the participant in the credit split column. Now, when money and compensation is on salespeople's minds, it's usually about when they get paid and what they're going to get paid for. So problems are likely going to arise. And if they do, like not getting credit for a deal closed or not seeing the deal closed on a list, there should be an easy way to log a complaint. Native to the Fusion Incentive Compensation solution is dispute management. I can directly create a dispute related to a transaction that will prompt a review process to ensure I get everything I'm due or all my sales team members are due. So I'm creating this dispute myself or for someone on my team, and I can classify the dispute by these list of values, entirely configurable if I want it to be. I can add a summary, put a description in, upload some attachments if necessary. This thing is extremely extensible, and it has additional attributes that it can capture as well. So based on the dispute type, the user can be prompted, or I can be prompted to fill in additional fields like maybe change the type to missing a transaction, or this. Basically, the system is intelligent enough to ask for some additional information if it's needed. So there's less back and forth. Also, based on dispute type, the dispute can get routed to a compensation analyst or a manager or a compensation administrator. There's some built-in workflows that can notify the correct owner on who needs to take action here. So at the end of the day, I've evaluated my performance and my earnings and also my team's. And every participant, including my sales reps, could access this type of information if the administrator makes it available to the team. And as we recap here, we're just going to focus on a couple of specifics about Oracle Fusion Incentive Compensation. Now, if we look at the top here, the sales reps always want to know what they get paid and what they're getting paid on. And with graphs, they get a very easy way to find that out. Next, whether it's a simple or complex plan that you guys have for territories, depending on how your teams work together, it can all be done with Fusion Incentive Compensation. Also, when creating the compensation plans, Fusion Incentive Comp has you can leverage the past data in the application. You can access the buying patterns of your customers, what products they've bought, and analyze the current opportunities to help better predict the sales quotas. So instead of guessing out what number your sales team needs to hit, it can all be created for you. And like a professor saying, show your work on a test, there is full traceability within incentive compensation, all the way down to the transaction of a payment, showing all the calculation details and how a rep earned his or her income, and it also includes all the formulas that were used. So we hope you enjoyed your snapshot today of Oracle Fusion CRM and specifically its incentive compensation functionality. Here are a few additional dates of upcoming FastCasts. We want to thank you today for attending, and if you're interested in registering for these future events, we'll go ahead and send out some invites in a little bit. And without further ado, we'll move on to the Q&A section. And I've got with me a solution consultant that can help answer some of our questions that you may have. And if we can't, we'll work offline to help get those answers to you.